Case 11. Renal system and fluid management. A 42-year-old male with a history of stage 4 chronic kidney disease, CKD, is admitted to the hospital with signs of volume overload and peripheral edema. Laboratory results show hyperkalemia, serum potassium of 5.8 milliequivalents per liter, and a serum creatinine of 3.5 milligrams per deciliter. The physician decides to use a diuretic to manage the fluid overload. Question 11. Which diuretic is most appropriate for managing volume overload in this patient? A. Hydrochlorothiazide. B. Spironolactone. C. Furosemide. D. Chlorthalidone. Answer: C. Furosemide. Explanation: loop diuretics like furosemide remain effective even when the glomerular filtration rate, GFR, is significantly reduced in advanced CKD. Thiazides, options A and D, generally lose their efficacy when creatinine clearance drops below 30 milliliters per minute. Spironolactone is contraindicated due to existing hyperkalemia and renal impairment. Case 12. Neurological system. A 28-year-old female with a known history of epilepsy has been well controlled on phenytoin for 2 years. She recently discovered she is 6 weeks pregnant and is concerned about the potential effects of her medication on the developing fetus. Question 12. What is the most significant risk associated with phenytoin use during pregnancy? And what is the recommended supplementation to reduce specific birth defects? A. Neural tube defects, vitamin B12, B. Fetal hydantoin syndrome, folic acid C, Gray baby syndrome, vitamin K, D, phocomelia, iron. Answer: B. Fetal hydantoin syndrome, folic acid. Explanation: phenytoin is associated with fetal hydantoin syndrome, which includes growth deficiency and craniofacial anomalies. Folic acid supplementation is critical for women on anti-epileptic drugs to reduce the risk of birth defects. Case 13. Infectious disease, meningitis. A 19-year-old college student is rushed to the emergency department with a high fever, severe headache, and neck stiffness. A lumbar puncture is performed, and cerebrospinal fluid, CSF, analysis suggests bacterial meningitis. While awaiting culture results, the physician decides to start empirical antibiotic therapy. Question 13. Which empirical antibiotic regimen is most appropriate for this adult patient? A. Ceftriaxone plus vancomycin. B. Gentamicin plus metronidazole. C. Ciprofloxacin plus doxycycline. D. Amoxicillin alone. Answer: A. Ceftriaxone plus vancomycin. Explanation: this combination provides broad coverage against common pathogens causing adult bacterial meningitis, including Streptococcus pneumonia, which may be penicillin-resistant, and Neisseria meningitis. Case 14. Endocrine system, thyroid. A 35-year-old woman presents with palpitations, heat intolerance, weight loss, despite an increased appetite, and a visible swelling in her neck. Laboratory tests confirm hyperthyroidism with a suppressed TSH and elevated free T4. Question 14. Which medication is typically preferred in the first trimester of pregnancy to manage this condition due to a lower risk of specific fetal malformations? A. Methimazole. B. Radioactive iodine. C. Propylthuracil, PTU. D. Levothyroxine. Answer C. Propylthuracil, PTU. Explanation: PTU is preferred in the first trimester because methimazole is associated with specific fetal malformations such as aplasia cutis. Case 15. Hematology. A 60-year-old male with atrial fibrillation is being started on warfarin for stroke prevention. The pharmacist provides counseling on how to monitor therapy and manage dietary intake. Question 15. Which laboratory parameter is used to monitor warfarin's efficacy, and which dietary component must be kept consistent to avoid fluctuations in this parameter? A. A PTT, vitamin C-B, hemoglobin, iron C, INR, vitamin KD, platelet count, calcium. Answer C, INR, vitamin K. Explanation: the International Normalized Ratio, INR, is the standard for monitoring warfarin efficacy. Because warfarin works by inhibiting vitamin K-dependent clotting factors, a consistent dietary intake of vitamin K is necessary to avoid fluctuations. Case 16. Cardiovascular, heart failure. A 70-year-old patient with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction, HFrEF, is currently taking enalapril and carvedilol. Despite this, the patient still experiences occasional shortness of breath and has a heart rate of 82 beats per minute while in sinus rhythm. Question 16. According to recent guidelines, which of the following agents can be added to specifically reduce the heart rate in patients who are already on a maximally tolerated beta blocker? A. Digoxin B, ivabradine C, amlodipine D, verapamil. Answer B. Ivabradine. Explanation: ivabradine specifically targets the IF current in the sinoatrial node to lower heart rate in HFrEF patients who remain in sinus rhythm with a heart rate greater than or equal to 70 beats per minute despite taking a maximally tolerated beta blocker.
Case 17, respiratory system, asthma. A 12-year-old boy uses a salbutamol SABA inhaler for his asthma. Lately, he's been using it more than 4 times a week due to nighttime coughing and shortness of breath during physical education classes. Question 17. What is the most appropriate next step in the pharmacological management of this patient's asthma? A. Increase the dose of the SABA inhaler. B. Add a low-dose inhaled corticosteroid, ICS. C. Add an oral corticosteroid for 14 days. D. Switch the SABA to a long-acting beta agonist, LABA, monotherapy. Answer B. Add a low-dose inhaled corticosteroid, ICS. Explanation. Frequent SABA use indicates poorly controlled asthma. The standard next step is adding a maintenance controller medication, primarily a low-dose ICS, to treat the underlying airway inflammation.
Case 18. Clinical toxicology. A 3-year-old child is brought to the emergency room after accidentally ingesting an unknown quantity of paracetamol, acetaminophen, syrup approximately 2 hours ago. The child is currently asymptomatic. Question 18. Which of the following is the specific antidote for paracetamol toxicity, and within what time frame is it most effective? A. Naloxone, within 2 hours. B. N-acetylcysteine, NAC, within 8 hours. C. Flumazenil, within 4 hours. D. Atropine, within 1 hour. Our answer. B. N-acetylcysteine, NAC, within 8 hours. Explanation. NAC is the specific antidote for paracetamol overdose. It is most effective at preventing hepatotoxicity when administered within 8 hours of ingestion. Case 19. Infectious disease, STI. A 26-year-old male presents with a complaint of painful urination and a thick, yellowish discharge from the urethra. He mentions unprotected sexual intercourse 1 week ago. A diagnosis of uncomplicated gonococcal urethritis is suspected. Question 19. What is the recommended first-line treatment regimen for uncomplicated gonorrhea in Ethiopia's syndromic management guidelines? A. Single dose of IM ceftriaxone plus azithromycin. B. 10 days of oral amoxicillin. C. 7 days of oral metronidazole. D. Single dose of ciprofloxacin. Answer A. Single dose of IM ceftriaxone plus azithromycin. Explanation. Dual therapy is used to treat gonorrhea to cover potential co-infection with chlamydia and to slow the development of antibiotic resistance. Case 20. Dermatology. A 20-year-old student presents with inflammatory acne on her face, consisting of several papules and pustules. She has tried over-the-counter benzoyl peroxide washes for 2 months with minimal improvement. Question 20. Which of the following would be the most appropriate next step in her treatment? A. Oral isotretinoin. B. Topical retinoid plus a topical antibiotic, for example, clindamycin. C. Systemic corticosteroids. D. Topical hydrocortisone cream. Cream. Answer B. Topical retinoid plus a topical antibiotic, for example, clindamycin. Explanation. For inflammatory acne that fails to respond to single-agent OTC therapy, the recommended next step is combination topical therapy to target multiple causes of acne, such as inflammation and bacteria.